This week, we welcome Tom Williams, the Director of Veterans Operations for the Veterans Mental Health Hackers, to talk about how Mental Health Hackers is going to help veterans in InfoSec in 2020 and beyond. Our second segment is we talk with Security News, actually, how Amazon Echo and Kindle devices were affected by a Wi-Fi bug, ransomware and data breaches linked to uptick in fatal heart attacks. A woman was ordered to type her iPhone password so police could search the device, and how the military found marijuana at a North Dakota nuclear launch facility. In the final segment, we air a pre-recorded interview with Mark Dufresne. All that and more on this episode of Paul's Security Weekly.
This is Security Weekly, for security professionals, by security professionals. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where exploits run wild, packets aren't the only things getting sniffed, and the cocktails flow steady. It's Paul's Security Weekly. The question is simple. Have any of the systems on my network been compromised? The answer is harder than it should be. Enter AI Hunter. Active Countermeasures has automated and streamlined techniques used by the best pen testers and threat hunters in the industry to create AI Hunter, a network threat hunting solution that does the first pass of a hunt for you to identify systems that are most likely to be compromised and scores the results on a scale from 0 to 100. You can then research those systems in depth with AI Hunter. Focus your valuable time on the systems that need your expertise with AI Hunter. Sign up for a personal demo today at securityweekly.com/ACM. Are you an enterprise dissatisfied with overpriced analytics software that can't keep up with modern data? If so, then GravWell is the solution for you. GravWell is an unstructured data analytics platform for enterprises who demand total data visibility across their network. GravWell lets your security team go beyond the SIM and fuse data sources to correlate and answer questions you didn't know needed to be asked. Go to gravwell.io/securityweekly for an unlimited data trial and gain uncompromising visibility today. Qualys is introducing a new prescription for security, and it's free. Global IT Asset Discovery and Inventory. Activate it today at securityweekly.com/Qualys so you can achieve 100% near real-time visibility across your hybrid environments.
It's Thursday night in New England. Do you know what time it is? No, it's not time for the New England Patriots because they already took care of business on Monday night. It's time for our host, Paul Asadorian, and his Cyber Patriots.
Welcome to Paul's Security Weekly. Is it not the Patriots' job to win tonight?
No, they won on Monday.
Okay,
It's over. It's over for the week.
They're so good they could win even when they're not playing.
That may be true, but...
And I know it's a short time that they have. Just going back and looking at records and dynasties, it's
coming to an end eventually.
Eventually, all good things come to an end, right?
Yes.
So.
But I had to pull in the whole New England Patriots thing tonight.
It's a great place to be. Paul Security Weekly, episode number 624. Welcome everyone. We're recording on October 24th. 2019, right here in G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, where Security Weekly CEO Matt Alderman is here with me. Welcome.
I am in the house. Thank you. It's always fun to be here. Crazy week for me. You know, with I hit a milestone tomorrow, but it's so much fun to be in studio with the rest of the team and have so much fun. So I'm glad to be here.
Nice to have you here, Mr. Alderman. On the lines remotely, Tyler Robinson's here with us. Tyler, welcome.
Buenas noches, everybody.
I like the hat thing. You got like the hat thing going on.
Isn't that a little new? Like the no hawk thing? That's kind of going to throw some people off, I'm sure.
I like it. Also on the lines remotely, holding up a really nice glass of what I hope is scotch and or bourbon, is Mr. Lee Neely, sporting his Security Weekly gear. Welcome, Lee.
Yeah, this is a glass of Jefferson's that Shelley just brought me to ease the show on the way. We're ready to go.
Nice.
It's like Lee, my wife, brings me bourbon. Neely, who also did like the Vanna White thing on his breast. He's like, look, I'm wearing the Security Weekly quarter zip, and here is my right man breast.
Wow.
Exciting news about the Security Weekly webcast program. We are partnered with ISC Squared as an official CPE provider. If you attend any of our webcasts, you will get a 1 CPE credit per webcast. Register for our upcoming webcast with ServiceNow and Core Security. You can go to the Security Weekly website, the all-new Security Weekly website. Click on the webcast link. Register for upcoming webcasts as well as on demand.
You forgot Great Horn. I think we had a Great Horn today, so I think Great Horn.
And Kevin O'Brien was on
ESW.
Great interview on
Wednesday.
ESW. Make sure you check that out.
And
that
he's coming to BSW on Monday, which is really interesting.
And doing a webcast.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I listened to that interview on ESW and I'm like, Matt, can we go buy that? Like, because we need that. Like, I liked his perspective on the problem of email phishing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And because we're a G Suite company, right? We use G Suite all the time. I'm like, can we get a trial of that?
Yeah,
and kind of integrate it in and address some of our stuff? Yeah.
Really liked it. It's good stuff. Alrighty. Now, what happened to my teleprompter, Matt? What is going on?
There's another.
Oh, is there another announcement?
Oh, maybe not. That might be in the next segment.
It was just one.
You just fast forwarded too fast. You hit the space button and never hit it to stop it. So,
I'd like to we're going to interview and introduce our guest for this segment. Tom is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran who works for a Fortune 500 company in security incident response. He is leading the Veterans Operations Division of Mental Health Hackers, addressing the unique challenges that veterans in information security face. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Tom, I'm not sure how we first met, likely at a ShmooCon or some other security event, right?
Yeah, I believe it was at I want to say Source in Boston a few years ago. And I've been a fan of the show for quite some time, going back to before the name change.
Nice.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's
and you're based
right
you're in Massachusetts somewhere, undisclosed location.
I am in an undisclosed location in Massachusetts, yes.
Undisclosed bunker.
That's right.
That doesn't look like a skiff.
No, certainly not.
Not
Well,
yet.
Tom, it's nice to actually have you on the show, despite us having spoken at many security events in the past. So,
yeah, it's good to finally be here.
Tom, start out by telling us about how you got your start in information security.
So I did a few years in the Marine Corps, did about a year or so in the Army, and then got into IT, supporting some naval bases in the area, and got interested in security, got involved in the community more, started a meetup where I met some great people, including Bob Rudis, Josh Corman, Bill Pelletier, and from there eventually was able to transition into a dedicated security role about 3 years ago. And I've been doing security incident response ever since.
So, Tom, if I heard you correctly, you talked about the Marine Corps, Army, and Navy. Is that?
Yeah, so I was doing civilian work in the Navy and was, after I got out of the Marine Corps, went into the Army for about a year before some back issues caused me to have a medical discharge.
Now, Tom, you also spoke about some of the folks involved in the community here in New England that were instrumental. For those of us listening that are looking for a community to get involved in, what advice do you have for them?
I'd say getting out to events. I've met a lot of these people initially on Twitter and just felt the need that we had such a great community still, even in New England and in many areas where you may have talked to somebody a handful of times on the internet, but you've never gotten together and made the friends and made the connections and made those relationships happen. And I'm lucky that I did, and that's what led me down this path.
It sounds like, Tom, they really pushed you into taking an InfoSec career, correct?
Oh, absolutely. It's a great way to, pull information from those people as well as, have them help guide you down a better path.
And it sounds like a lot of the local events, right, Tom? I mean, you were networking really locally with a lot of the local cons and meeting these individuals, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
but it's funny how like the local conferences, it sounds like Tom introduced you to folks that were connected to and are connected to cybersecurity across the world.
yeah.
Absolutely. No matter how big the cybersecurity community is, it's still, it's like the Kevin Bacon game. You're only a couple of hops away from all these incredible people.
Yeah, we're not 6 degrees away. We're like 2 degrees away,
2 or
pretty
3,
much from everybody in our community, which is good. I mean, it's great from a networking perspective because you can meet somebody at a local event who has ties into people that are more on a national, global scale that make those connections for your network to really help you out.
But what I think is important is that many of us that have been doing this for 15 or 20 plus years, right, have those connections, but are very open to, if you come to a community event, like Tom came to a community event, there is a vetting process, right? And I know Tom's a very genuine person. Like, oh, you want to work in InfoSec, I'll help you, right? I think that's what's important to underscore about our culture is that the recruitment process is not just an open process, but one that if you want to help us in this mission of cybersecurity, we'll help you, right?
And
Definitely.
It's constant giving back.
Yeah, and I think folks out of the military have a really unique perspective on security, right? When you're in the military, your mission is protecting the homeland. And that's a national security kind of concept, right? Which has applicability into securing an organization and the ability to bring those skill sets you learned in the military, the way you think, the way you prepare, those things are really important for organizations to help them actually do a better job of protecting their own organization, not at the scale of the nation, but still, I think, really relevant skill sets in our industry.
Absolutely. And it's great to see that there are a lot of organizations who are recognizing that and are trying to bring veterans into cybersecurity more.
Kind of a question around that. What do you see some of the biggest differentiators and advantages of coming out of the military and bringing that kind of experience into the commercial realm? And then to follow that on, like some of the disadvantages or the trials that you've had to kind of face as bringing that background as a sole background.
So I'd say one of the big advantages of veterans trying to get into the community is that we tend to be very focused on learning. So there's the ability to pick up a concept that might not be something you're super familiar with, but you'll put your head down, focus on it, and pick things up relatively quickly. And then there's the also innate ability that it's kind of dragged into us or pushed into us to follow when you need to follow and lead when you need to lead. And that's every company needs people who know where they should be and what their hierarchy is and how to make the best out of that. And then as for challenges, that's the transition from the mindset of this is who I've been for the last 3, 4, 20, 30 years. It can be tough to suddenly have to adjust to being a completely different person. And fortunately for a lot of people, that transition goes smoothly, but for a lot of people, it doesn't. So it's always a new challenge every day.
Do you have any good advice or recommendation for those of us that have spent most of our time in the commercial sector, how to help or better facilitate a lot of the veterans trying to come in? They're bringing great experience. They have fantastic skill sets. And the mindset is obviously very, very applicable. What are some of the things that we can do to facilitate that better and maybe draw in a bigger veteran crowd for recruitment?
So I think a lot of it has to do with understanding the terminology. A veteran may not know 100% exactly how to target their resume, but if you understand that this particular individual has these set of skills and accept where their place is and how they're willing to learn, they can do a lot of great things.
Well, one thing I've always appreciated, and we've talked about this on previous shows on the network, is that, I learned by experience working under pressure, right? Like even in my early days where I was administering a token ring network and I accidentally unplugged the wrong cable, and Matt's already laughing, right? Because he knows once that token doesn't have a full ring, because ring is a literal term in this sense, the whole network goes down, right? And I learned that in a very safe facility with people who were mentoring me, with users who were somewhat understanding, and I broke the ring and I had to work under pressure, right? What the veterans bring into that scenario is working under pressure, not in an IT setting, but in oftentimes situations that your life and your coworkers or other soldiers' lives in your team, their lives too, right? And the ability to work under pressure, I think, is something that is extremely important in IT and security, especially because when that breach happens and you discover it, like, it could be basically life or death for that company, right? Not actual people. It could be people's lives at line. Certainly, when we talk about critical infrastructure and the like, but the life of that company and the ability to work under pressure, keep a level head under pressure, is such a valuable skill. Tom, if you could speak towards that, how I think those skills and that training really transfer.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. It's that ability to, keep a cool head and know how to step back and evaluate what's going on and be able to best frame out the situation and accomplish the mission as quickly as it needs to go. And
what's funny, Tom, is I've got 3 kids at home, right? And a lot of dogs, very crazy household. And I'll sometimes tell my wife, and of course she's my wife, so she can disagree and dismiss my comments.
She might.
At whatever.
She might do it while we're on the show.
And that's totally fine, right? But I'll be like, we need to just prioritize and execute. And it speaks to what Tom is talking about, and it speaks to what we deal with in IT and security all the time, right? There's an event that happened. If you freak out about it, that's not doing anyone any good, right? If you look at the problem at hand and you can prioritize what I need to do, what my team needs to do, and then execute on that in priority, that's a huge value. When there's a security incident and you have to look at all the things that are going wrong and be like, all right, this person needs to go do that, and that's their priority. Prioritization and execution is, I think, one of the most valuable skills that we can learn from our military and armed forces that translate into not just security incidents, but like, Paul's life at home when things are going, things are going crazy. That ability is extremely important.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of prioritize and execute, I actually do have both of Jocko's books on my bookshelf right behind my laptop.
What was his first book, Tom?
The first book.
What was it called?
I actually don't remember.
Ultimate Ownership, something like that.
Extreme Ownership.
Extreme Ownership. Thank you. Yeah, but essentially that comes down to the prioritize and execute mentality.
Right. And I think
you're the leader. You own everything. If anyone else on your team makes a mistake, you own it. And the way you overcome those mistakes, largely in his lessons, right, is that prioritize and execute mentality.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with the training in the military. Right, because you have this command and control structure that's in place, which is great, right? But things happen in the battlefield, right? And training kicks in when things go wrong, the leader is no longer the leader, and somebody has to step up and take control.
Right. Think about every security incident we've ever dealt with collectively as hosts and listeners, right? Someone had to step in, provide that leadership role, and help the team prioritize and execute at a very fundamental level.
And it's a fundamental training in the military that I don't think most other people experience in their day-to-day learning, right? We go to college, we do our things, we drink too much beer, we get sick, we get out with a degree.
We get out, we show up, we go to work. Right.
But in the military, it is the way of life. This is life or death for a lot of the men and women on our front lines. And that training teaches them, because I wasn't, so it teaches them what that structure looks like. And when things go wrong, somebody steps in and they continue to execute on that mission. How to deal with those
tremendous challenges.
Exactly.
Right? Which is often what we face in a lot of people face, right, in their daily jobs. But IT and security being one, right? Tremendous challenges. We've been breached. Now what?
Yeah, absolutely. You cannot succeed unless somebody steps up and recognizes that, I'm the guy who needs to make something happen here, and you do.
Yeah.
So,
Lee.
when people are running around with their like a chicken with their head cut off, do you feel like you're any more equipped for getting them to calm down and focus on what's important because of the training you've had and
It's a
background?
great question, Lee.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that can be applicable. You understand how to maintain a cool head and help others take that step back, realize the full scope of things, and then after you have that deep breath, go back and attack the problem.
Well, Tom, and you hit the nail on the head, right? When we talk about extreme ownership and a lot of military missions, right? In this example, Navy SEAL missions to work with Iraqi forces and to train them. If no one in that dynamic, U.S. military special forces plus Iraqi forces, if no one had that calm demeanor and ability to prioritize and execute, no one would learn, right? And I think that in this case, the SEALs example is through training, they maintain the level head in times of extreme chaos and can lead the team to teach people like Iraqi forces. So lead it back to your example, right? Having those senior people in IT that when people are running around like they're chickens with their heads cut off, you can maintain that level head and say, no, this person go do that, this person go do that kind of thing.
And it doesn't even need to be the senior person. It could be the ability of anybody to recognize that this is the best route forward, pass that information up to the next person in their chain, and just make things happen.
Yeah, and we've seen scenarios of this in crazy situations. I mean, we all know the story of Benghazi. The movie's been out there. I mean, think about what those guys were under from a tremendous pressure, but they knew how to get themselves to a position where they could do the things that they could do, but with a very level head, right?
And it's those what you've
times of
described
pressure
is what they now call the Battle of Ramadi, which doesn't get some of the press as other military battles, but that's, I think, why Tom and I and others really latch on to Jocko's work, where he talks about those extreme stress situations. And in this case, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, is the Battle of Ramadi, right, that really taught those lessons as one of the more modern historic references to military conflict that it teaches us these lessons of operating under extreme stress.
Yeah, absolutely. You may be detached from your chain, from your leadership, and it may be due to technical problems. It may be due to geological problems. So you may be spread apart throughout the world, and you need to recognize what needs to be done and how to step up and how to solve those problems.
All very relevant skills in the enterprise.
Yeah,
when you think about incident response and the role you're in today, Tom, and the ability to realize we have a breach or we're in the middle of an attack, and the ability to assess the situation and start to come up with a game plan on, okay, where do we go from here, right? The military folks, again, back to their training, have this just instinctive ability to figure out how to come up and start to lead in those situations under extreme stress, which are valuable skills to an organization that is under an attack in the middle of a breach, that can also create a cool, calm head in the room, but also know, look, these are the things we need to do. And
because,
I think that is just
in IT and security, most of the time, majority of the time, no one's shooting at you.
Yeah, that's true.
Hopefully not, no.
Right? And we're lucky and very grateful and thankful to those who defend our country, right? But that's the skills they bring to the table.
Yes.
And when we talk about the Battle of Ramadi, like, soldiers were under fire a lot of the times in that environment, right? And taking those, learning from those lessons, largely what we're talking about with Jocko's work. Does Jocko have a podcast now? I think he was kind of pushing in that realm, right?
Yeah, he's going on, I think, 300-something episodes at this point.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Wow, that's crazy. That's good.
So kind of around that stress, like your experience and bringing some of that to the industry. Obviously, security industry is very, very stressful. It's a high pressure job. We're all very high performers. Is that kind of one of the determining factors that kind of brought you around to the Mental Health Hackers organization and kind of what that organization is trying to accomplish?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, we've been trying to do a lot of great things. I met Amanda at right around when Mental Health Hackers first started at DerbyCon last year, and just was amazed by the things that were being done to try to, it's recognizing that we've all faced issues, we've had problems, and this is how this particular person has addressed those issues and tried to make them, how to improve themselves and then pass those things along to others. And veterans have faced unique challenges that hopefully the average person hasn't faced, and it could mess with your head. It could even just the issues with adjusting back to a civilian lifestyle can cause some adjustment issues. So we're trying to, through Mental Health Hackers, just recognize that we've all been there. This is what we did to normalize ourselves and pass those lessons on to others.
Yeah, are there?
What are you finding? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, are there certain things that folks in the military, are there tips or tricks to help them? Because we've talked to various folks. Aaron came out of the military into the commercial civilian world. What are some of those things that you really kind of focus on when it comes to that transition? Because I think that transition is such an important component, right? Because when you're in the day-to-day battle and people are shooting at you, and you think about that from what it just does to you mentally, what are some of those things you try to focus on to help these people through that transition process? Because I think that's a really important part of what you guys are trying to do.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge with that is, you need to recognize that others have done it and have, seen the same things that you have and have adjusted back to a normal life. And it could be, falling back to your training where you're taught resiliency and how to handle that stress. And you just need to adjust what your focus is and recognize that, this is your new mission. You've gone from, having this one particular job where this, you must be doing this thing all the time. And now your mission is to become a civilian again and use those skills that you learn to, take this next step into your new life.
Yeah. It's a very difficult transition, I think, for a number of folks in our military that have seen just some of the worst atrocities, it has.
And there's no comparison, right? I want to set that as a precedent for this, conversation. And, we read the books and watched the movies about Chris Kyle, and I think many of us in security, and again, the stress is there's no comparison, right? But we experience challenges, we try to overcome them, and as a way, I think, to cope with that, we like to teach other people, right? And that was Chris Kyle's mission. The way he overcame the things that he was dealing with when he got back was to teach other people. Obviously, unfortunate circumstances followed from that, but I think many of us in security feel the same way. If you're worthy, or we believe you're worthy, we'll transfer that knowledge and teach you as a way to cope with all the things that we've seen in security, which again don't compare to the things that are seen in the battlefield, but I think it's a very similar parallel. Tom, I'd love to hear your thoughts on on that.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. It's that the knowledge transfer is really key. You've done this, and now there's someone else coming up behind you, and you need to assist them in basically any way possible to help them become as successful as they possibly can.
Yeah, and I go ahead, Lee.
Got a question for you. So, I mean, we've talked a lot about what the vets have to go through, relearning how to be a civilian. But are there things that the employers, the couple of things that they really need to get before the journey is going to be successful, or is it really all on the vet?
I think employers can recognize that veterans have those those unique skills. It's the ability to know when it's time for you to lead, know when it's time for you to follow. They have that, again, the prioritize and execute mindset, and just the ability to, basically run face first into a challenge that, the average person who is, coming straight out of college or an internship may not necessarily have. And it's also just be willing to give the average veteran a chance. They may not, have 100% of the skills that you're looking for in this particular role, but give it 6, 12, 18 months. They will focus on whatever that particular job is, learn those skills, get those certifications, and come all the way up.
Yeah, and I had similar conversations with Aaron at Black Hat this year, right? Ernst & Young in the UK definitely has a program in place at the corporate level to really bring some of those military folks in, because they realized the skill sets apply, right? And they were very open from that perspective to bring these folks in. And incident response seems to be one of those areas where people who are under pressure, looking at data and analyzing data and making decisions, it seems to be a really good fit. And in E&Y, in that particular case, definitely saw a value of bringing those military folks in. That's where Aaron is now. And I think that's important to realize where those kind of skill sets from the military really fit into an organization when it comes to an overall security program, and then figure out how to make that transition easier. His experience was fantastic. I'd love to see other organizations do things similar, where they really embrace the military to come into those roles where they can be really effective in an overall organizational security program.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Tom, how did you get involved with Amanda at the Mental Health Hackers? Who's awesome, by the way.
Yeah, great person. She's been a great guest on you guys' show a handful of times as well. So after seeing what Mental Health Hackers started at that first DerbyCon that they were actively involved in, I started volunteering, got to know everybody, got into the Slack, and then recognized that there is a lot of veterans within the cybersecurity space, and Mental Health Hackers is trying to help address those mental health challenges that everyone faces, but veterans are also facing unique mental health challenges from just the various things that you may or may not have seen in your time in service. And we're trying to help people adjust to those unique challenges.
It's so well put, and because there are many that didn't have the same view on what mental health hackers and many of us are doing in the security community, but Tom was like, hey, I want to help, and that's awesome.
Yeah, that's basically it. I asked if I could be that person, and Amanda and the team agreed, and here we are.
So Tom, what's next? How do you help people moving forward?
So for now, I think our biggest thing is trying to get more veterans involved in Mental Health Hackers to recognize what we're doing. And we've been trying to push that out on Twitter and the various social networks, as well as just getting our name out there in various villages at the at security conferences that are going on nationwide and even worldwide. So I'm going to be running the Mental Health Hackers Village at B-Sides, Connecticut in about 2.5 weeks.
Nice.
I don't think we have anything going on after that for the rest of the year, but I think things will slowly ramp up as we start getting into summer and all the various conferences that are going on.
And if there are military folks out there that want to get more information, where should they go, Tom? Where should we point them to get more information about how to get involved?
So if people want to get more involved with Hackers Health, I would have them send us a DM on Twitter. Again, it's at Hackers Health. That can get us into our Slack. We have a dedicated Slack channel for the Veterans Division of Mental Health Hackers, and we're just going to go from there.
Outstanding. Great. Tom, this is the first time you've appeared on Paul's Security Weekly, correct?
It is, and I believe you're going to ask me the questions.
I am going to ask you the Security Weekly 5 questions, and clearly you are ready to play well, whether you're ready or not, we're going to ask you anyway. Security Weekly, 5 questions.
Of course.
All righty. Tom, 3 words to describe yourself.
Veteran, beard, ginger.
If you were a serial killer, what would be your weapon of choice?
I've always liked the icicle.
If you wrote a book about yourself, what would the title be?
How to fail and pick yourself back up.
The easiest question of the bunch. In the popular game of Ask Grabby Grabby, do you prefer to go first or second?
I do prefer to go first.
Choose 2 celebrities to be your parents. Matt?
Live, dead, otherwise.
Fictional or
Fictional
otherwise, yes.
So I would go with Ted Danson, but Cheers era Ted Danson, and Angelina Jolie.
Wow, that's a good mother. Just saying.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Kind of, I think your mom's hot is what we're saying.
Yeah, basically.
Basically. You're fictional or non-fictional
Fictional.
mom.
Yeah, semi-fictional.
Yes. Well, Tom, thank you so much for appearing on Paul's Security Weekly.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And with that, we'll take a short break and come back to talk about the security news. Stay tuned.